Hi everybody, this is Howard the Teaserking coming to you with week 17 of the NFL. Basically every game is a division game, so I can give you trend versus trend of the micro approach that I use, which is team versus team within the division. Um, but let's first get to who needs the game for the playoffs. Carolina is playing for the 1 seed. They lose and Arizona wins. Arizona gets home field throughout. Carolina wins, they get it. They're both on at 4 o'clock. Green Bay and Minnie basically wins for the division. That's the night game. And Washington's locked up. I don't know if they're playing. It's funny, if Washington is playing, I really love them over Dallas. It seems like the quarterback will be playing. But I don't know how long, and this is the problem with it. And then Seattle's the other seed, which is already kind of locked in. They're in the playoffs. I think they might, if they win and Minnie loses, they might get the tiebreaker to be the 5th seed, but it's not the same playing for the 5th seed as it is playing for the home field throughout or the bye, especially when they're playing Arizona, who's playing for the 1 seed. In the AFC, you got New England looking for the 1 seed. You've got Denver looking to win the division and possibly the 1 seed. New England's on at 1 and Denver's on at 4. So if New England wins, Denver still has to play to win their division. And Kansas City, who's also in but playing to win the division if Denver loses, is also on at 4. So KC kind of is in. If Denver loses, they win, and they win, they get the division. Denver, if New England loses, really has no more incentive, but they do want to play. They could be the 1 seed. But what I'm saying is if New England wins, they still need to play to win the division, to win the West anyway, and they'll have the 2 seed. If New England loses, they still play with the same effort because they need it then they would need for the home field advantage. Cincinnati can get the bye if I believe Denver loses and they win, then they would get the bye. Now Cincinnati is on at 1 o'clock, so that's a game we can look at because Cincy is going to move up if Denver loses. So they're going to try all out, and then they'll wait and see what happens with Denver. So that's a game that's not on at the same time like the Kansas City-Denver game is. Like I said, Kansas City's pretty much in the playoffs. It's just if Denver loses and they win the division. Otherwise, they're the wild card. Houston needs the game to win the division. If they lose and Indy has to then win, Indy would be the winner of the South. But if Houston just wins, they win it, and then Indy's out. They're both on at 1 o'clock. And then the last wild card goes to the Jets or Pittsburgh. Right now, the Jets, a win and they're in. A loss and Pitt has to lose. They're both on at 1 o'clock. So basically, the Jets win, they're in if they lose. So Pitt comes ready to play just in case the Jets lose. So that's what's happening. So the for sure games are Carolina and New England looking for the 1 seed. Denver needing it to win the division. Now here's where my psychology takes place. So when I go to Vegas, I try to tell people, I show them my Excel sheets, which basically list all the teams and how they, are they a home favorite or road dog, and play them or play against, and I show them the division, Detroit playing Minnesota, how do you play? And some people think, oh, you just do trend analysis. And I try to tell them, no, I don't just do trend analysis. It's just 2 parts of my overall analysis. In other words, if Minnesota always beats Detroit, that's great, and that's a big edge. But if Minnesota's all injured, I'm not going to play them. So I don't just take the trend analysis. Trend analysis is just probably 40 or 50% of it. I don't strictly play the game because of the trend. However, I am smart enough to have figured out the trend analysis is the key to how do you read the matchups to how do you know who's going to win. In other words, if Minnesota always beats Detroit 10 times in a row, chances are that's the matchup, right? So if that's the matchup, that's who you want to take is that team. So therefore, by doing that analysis, as opposed to turnover margin or time of possession, I found the proper analysis to look at. So therefore, when I do my trend analysis, it's to capture the matchup, and that's really what I'm trying to do. And I'm still looking at injuries, who needs the game, who's resting players, but it's all about matchups. That's why teams beat each other. They control the line of scrimmage, the quarterback, the defense, the coach. It all comes into play of the matchup. So with that said, let me walk down through it. I do have one lock, possibly two going. I have two teams locked. Excuse me, I'll never get rid of this nasal drip. I have two teams locked Sunday. I might have a third. Part of the problem is I don't know who's playing and who isn't. In other words, let's take Washington, Dallas for an example. I would absolutely, if this was 2 weeks ago, I would be locking Washington. If Dallas is laying 4 and I get Washington at 10, that's a lock. People ask me, what is a lock? There's no such thing as locks. They're not real. Locks are a strong play that I look at the matchup. And for Dallas, Washington, let me explain it. Dallas is terrible as a home favorite. Washington's usually pretty bad as a road dog, but they're getting better this year. And when I look at Dallas, I think there's no way Dallas, and I take Washington up to 10, there's no way Dallas can beat Washington by 10. They just don't have the offense. They have a good defense. But the way Washington's playing, they're going to move the ball. They're going to score. They should win the game. So I have a team that very much could win against a team that's a weak favorite in Dallas, and I have the trend to show that. And what I'm saying is I have a very strong play that Washington getting the 10 is going to win. So I call it a lock because it's a very, very strong play. The trend is Washington and the dog is 8-2 in this last 10 in the series in Dallas. So therefore, what I'm saying is, since not only the trend is there, but I believe Washington's better than Dallas. I believe Dallas is a weak favorite because they just don't win any games, and if they do, they're very close. And they play close, low-scoring games. That would be my point of a lock. I would lock them. But I don't know if Washington's resting. I don't know if they play the starter the first half, and then they rest them in the second half, and they don't care because they're locked in. Now, what hurts teams are they lose momentum, and that's what I look at in the playoffs. Every time Peyton Manning rested, and they were undefeated, but they sit them out for 2 games, and then they get the bye. I always bet against them in the week 1 because they've lost all the momentum. And I think it's so stupid to worry about injury. I know football is a dangerous game, and everybody gets injured in it, but you've got to just play the game. You can't rest worrying about the injury and then screw up your team. And then here's a playoff game, and you haven't played in 2 or 3 weeks, and you're not going to win. So, all right. Jets in Buffalo. Jets are laying 2.5 or 3. Over under 42. There's really no trend on the teams, Jets versus Buffalo, except Buffalo is 11-3 as the dog overall the last 14. The Jets are not a strong road favorite. Buffalo's a pretty strong home dog. Buffalo is 12-3 as a home dog. The last 15 times they've been a home dog, that's probably the last 3 or 4 years. The Jets, as a play against road favorite, are 7-1. As a road favorite, they're 15-4. So they're going on the road. They win in close. Like when they played Dallas a few weeks ago, they needed the game, and they won 19-16. I'm looking at this game as being close. Now, here's what I was trying to talk to about last week, where Kansas City needed it, and Pitt needed it, and the New England needed it for the 1 seed, and Carolina needed it for, but they didn't win or they didn't cover. So just because they need it, you can't just throw out everything. You have to pretty much analyze this like this is a week 5 game or a week 6 game. And here's the Jets at Buffalo. Buffalo's going to play. Rex Ryan wants to beat the Jets. Buffalo's a very good home dog, and in this series, there's really no trend. The Jets, yeah, they got Fitzpatrick and Marshall, the wide receiver, and Decker, and they have a fairly good defense. I mean, they shut Brady down fairly well, but Brady being Brady tied the game up. But now you got the Jets on the road, and you got to wonder, they just beat New England. Are they kind of so high off of that win? Can they really get back up and to go on the road and win at Buffalo, who hates them and wants to beat them? And again, this is the NFL, and in the NFL, you can't discount the teams. I mean, Buffalo's not going to just roll over and go, oh, okay, Jets, you need the game, so you're going to take it. With that said, I like Buffalo plus the 8.5 here. Over under 42, I don't have a clue. I mean, the Jets, I think, are a bit of an over team. Buffalo, seems like they score points. I guess I'd go over the 36 because it's 42 roughly. And I'm rounding. It could be 41.5, could be 42.5. I'm just throwing up the 42 number. I know it's right in there. I just think 36. I think in the pros, all these low 40 lines are pretty much overs because if you chop it down to 35, 36, you're talking about a 20-17 game in the pros. And all right, maybe with Houston with no quarterback, or a team like Denver with no quarterback and a great defense, maybe we'll go under if you take 42 up to 48. But most of these games, these low 40 spreads, I think are just, come on, they're going to score in the 40s. But again, you got to watch the quarterbacks. But in this situation, both quarterbacks are playing. So I would say go over the 36. Tampa Bay, Carolina. Carolina laying 10.5. They need it for the 1 seed. How do they match up? Well, Carolina and the favorite are 6-1 the last 7 in Carolina, which makes me feel good. It's not like Tampa goes there and pulls the upset and everything. So Carolina at home, 6-1. 10.5. It's a little big number. They got some injuries on the running backs, Carolina, but I don't know how much that really matters. The running back they'll bring in, I'm sure he's an NFL running back. He'll play well. Cam Newton's really the key. Olsen's there. I've been noticing their defense has been kind of as good as I thought it was. It just isn't. They're letting up a lot of points to New Orleans. They couldn't stop Atlanta. They never adjusted to the short pass on Atlanta last week. They couldn't handle the blitz of Atlanta. I mean, I don't know what team I was watching with Carolina last week. Yeah, I locked them last week, and I would have locked them if they were playing Atlanta laying 7 this week for 1 seed. I'd play them again. However, because Carolina finally lost, needs it for the 1 seed, I like Carolina minus the 4.5. I think this could be a game where they really get after Winston, and I just think at home. Here's the thing on Carolina at home: they're 17-1 as a home favorite. Now Tampa Bay as a road favorite, as a road dog, is 12-3. So Tampa's a good road dog, but Carolina at home is unbelievable, 17-1. They want the 1 seed. There's no question about it. Take Carolina, lay the 4.5. Hopefully you don't get screwed because they kick the field goal and win it at the end, or they're up 10 and Tampa gets a late touchdown and wins by 3. That's why I tend to lock 7s down to 1, because for that late happening. But in this situation, Carolina is going to be upset after their loss. They're going to want the momentum. They need it for the 1 seed. And I don't see how they're not going to, should be at least a 17-point win over Tampa. Over under 46, probably an over. Tampa does tend to score with Winston. But I just think Carolina's going to get angry, and, I don't know if Tampa's going to score a lot. So I like it over, but I'm not, in love with the over. Next game, New England laying 10 to Miami. Over under 47. Heads up, New England and the favorite are 6-1 the last 7. New England is 13-2 as the favorite in the series, so it could be in New England or in Miami. So it's all New England here. The lane tends to lay 4. You got Brady and Gronk. I know there's injuries on the defense, but it's still kind of a system thing, and they just bring in the next guy, and he could work at a deli or a grocery store, and he'll be an all-star with New England. Tannehill, I think, stinks. I don't think Miami has much of an offense. I think New England puts up their 28 to 30 points. This isn't the Jets they're playing. I don't think Miami has the offense to in any way keep up. Over under 47, I kind of like it under. I think New England wins like 21-3 or 24-3 or 24-6. I don't see, I see New England controlling the game and their defense just shutting down Miami. Let's just look at the over under here, 47. So that means you can go under 53 or over 41. All right, what do you think the score is going to be? Well, Miami's got a decent defense, but their offense, and Tannehill is going to struggle here. So I see New England putting in the 20s, and I don't see Miami getting maybe to the 10s. So that's 30, 35 points. So I would say under 53 is a very good play. But since Miami won't score a lot, and Brady is good for in the 20s, I mean, that was against the Jets and Revis. They're going against Miami, and they don't really have that strong defense, and they're giving up for the year. And Tannehill is injured. I don't know if he's playing. So I think New England -4 and the under is definitely the plays here. Cincinnati -9 to Baltimore. Head up. Cincinnati 5-0, 6-1, 9-1. I'm just giving you Cincinnati at home. 9-1 the last 10. 18-2 overall. 7-1 as the favorite. 18-2 overall means the last 20 times they played, Cincinnati covered either in Cincy or in Baltimore. Cincinnati won as the dog in Baltimore when Baltimore is healthy. Over under a 42. Now, we got McCarron, who did show some worth against Denver. Baltimore, I think, shot their wad against Pittsburgh. Baltimore is a very good road dog. Let me get that. They're 21-3 as a road dog. 18-3 the last 21. So Baltimore plays extremely well as a road dog against the spread in a teaser. So that means plus 15. Baltimore probably covers this. But now Cincinnati is a home favorite. Doesn't really have a huge trend. And I'm only going to talk trends that are very like 80-85% when I give you a trend here. Like Baltimore 18-3. Well, it's obviously over 85%. So in this situation, since he's a home favorite, isn't that great, but they need it to have a chance. I think they have a chance at the 1 seed, but they definitely have to win. If Denver loses, I think they get the bye. They definitely have something to play for. So I think they're tied with Denver. So if they win and Denver loses, and they're at 1 and Denver's at 4, so they got to play and then just let the chips fall where they may. I know they're off the Monday night game. I had them +9, or we had them +9, and got the 14-0 lead. I'm sitting in Teasers, and I'm loving it. No sweat. Got the nice 14-point lead, getting 9.5. Beautiful, beautiful game. So McCarron looks okay. Again, Baltimore, they're going to put pressure on Ryan Mallett, or I don't know who the quarterback is anymore. But I think they shot their load against Pittsburgh. It's tougher to go on the road at Cincy. They can win as the home dog against Pitt. But now, that's a pretty rough game. Now to come back and get up at Cincy, I think is hard. Cincy does, if this was week 7, I'd be playing Cincy here. The spread would be 6. But Cincy against them is 18-2. So you've got to look at the trends. 9-1 the last 10 in Cincy. You just got to look at the matchup and go, Cincy plays Baltimore really well. Lay the 3 there. The over-under 42. I kind of like it under because both teams have backup quarterbacks. Cincy's got a really strong defense. And they played the Denver, was 20-17, was a 37 I think under 48 also is good here, but I like Cincy -3 because again, Cincy needs the game, has to win it. So they could start scoring and they're not going to let up. Baltimore should score a little, but when you look at it, I think Cincy gets in the upper 20s. Baltimore maybe 10 to 17 points, so they'll cover the 9. Atlanta, New Orleans, really quickly, it doesn't mean anything. Atlanta probably spent their wad beating Carolina. Atlanta and the favorite are 8-2 the last 10. The favorite 6-1. Atlanta's 7-0 as the favorite. Over under a 53. So there's a little edge in Atlanta. New Orleans as a play against road dog is 19-5. Atlanta, however, as a play against home favorite is 12-2. So what that means is New Orleans usually goes as a road dog and loses, but Atlanta as a home favorite doesn't cover. So they'll play a close game based on this. It looks like Atlanta wins a close one. They're laying 5.5. I think that's a little high. I don't know how healthy Breeze is. Over under a 53. I probably like it over 47 because New Orleans has no defense, has a good offense, scores a lot. Atlanta should score more, at least probably get into the 30s. So I think it's an over, and I think it's in Atlanta. But again, they're not, forget that they're not playing for anything. I mean, Atlanta is still going to play New Orleans, but in the series, you take Atlanta. Houston and Jacksonville. Houston laying 6 over under 46. I really love the under the most. Houston's killer defense. I don't know who their quarterback is. Jacksonville with Bortles is good. They tend to score. There is no real trend. There's a small trend. Jacksonville and the dog are 4-1 in Houston, so Jacksonville should keep it close. Again, without a quarterback, who knows how many touchdowns J.J. Watt's going to score? Who knows? But I think this is definitely an under game. I think Houston's defense shuts down Jacksonville's offense. Houston will somehow find a way to score a little, but again, I think under 52 is the play. Pittsburgh laying 10.5 to Cleveland. Pitt's 8-1 and 11-2 in the matchup. The dog is 7-2. That goes to Cleveland. Pitt is 16-3 as the favorite. But Pitt, play against road favorite, is now 19-2. That includes as a road favorite against Baltimore. I did make a note. Baltimore was the play in the trend against Pitt, and they were a good dog. The dog was the play there. The dog did win. Here you got Manziel's not playing, but the other guy is, and I'm sorry, I just can't think of his name. Pitt laying 10.5. I don't know. In a game they needed against Baltimore, they laid an egg. They'd probably be a little bit more angry. Pitt's 8-1 as of in Cleveland, so they play well there. I think they come back. They're a terrible road favorite, and I think the spread's way too high. The spread should be 6 or 7. It's on at 1, the same time as the Jets. I can't get excited playing Pitt here because they're such a bad road favorite. And Cleveland, I think, has a pretty good defense. I think over under a 47, I would say it's probably an under. Take under 53 just because I think Cleveland's got a fairly good defense. But Pitt, I don't know where, they looked flat as hell last week. So I don't know, but I think under. It's hard for me to take Pitt -4.5. Although they are 16-3 as the favorite, but the contradictory trend of them as a road favorite being 19-2 against. So the last 21 on the road, if you bet against Pitt, you won. Makes it hard. I think Cleveland in 16 could be a winner. Pitt -4 might be a winner. I doubt they'll lose again after losing to Baltimore. I think they got to go out with a bang, but I just don't trust them, and I wouldn't lay 5 cents on Pittsburgh this week. KC laying 7 to Oakland. Oakland and the dog are the play here, 8-2 the last 10 in Kansas City. KC is a play against home favorite, if I can find them. Where are they? I thought I wrote it down. I think KC's a play against. They're a play against road favorite or home favorite. Something like 7-1. Where is that? I don't have it in my notes. I have it in my chart. But KC's just winning lightly at home. Oakland has been a live dog this year. Laying 7, I think, is a little bit too much. I think Oakland's very competitive here. Kansas City doesn't have a big offense. Here they needed the game against Cleveland in 17-13. It's going to be cold there. That's going to affect Carr and Cooper. I think it's a defensive game, over under a 43. I really like the under 49. I don't see how they're going to get there. KC, good defense, not a lot of offense. I don't see KC blowing out Oakland. Oakland won at Denver, and and they beat San Diego. I like Oakland in the 13 here. KC's kind of clinched. They're going to play the same time as Denver. Hard to say, but I would tend to think Oakland in the 13 is good. I think under 49, 43 up to 49 is even better. But I wouldn't just play KC -1 and assume they're going to win. I talked about Dallas, Washington. Washington 8-2 and the dog 8-2. The last 10 in Dallas. Where's my trend? Dallas play against home favorite 18-3. 18-3 if you play against them as a home favorite. And if you play against them as a home dog, it's another like 11-1. So it's almost like 25-5. Play against Dallas at home. Washington play against road dog is 17-3. But that trend's been changing. They won at Philly. They're playing a lot better. And this is the critical part when I do my trend analysis. I'm noticing, this is why I do each year, like I'm noticing 2015 is changing some of the trends from 14, 13, and 12. And that's why I break it out by year. So I do a 2015 trend, I do a 14-15, I do a 13-14-15, a 12-13-14-15. So I want to get the big picture, and then I want to get the micro approach. How is it changing this year? Because that's the key to the trend, is when the team starts changing, you get off board of the older trend and get onto the newer trend, like in Washington. They're playing much better with Cousins at quarterback. Now, I like Kellen Moore, and I promoted him, and I think he's a good quarterback, but he's not going to blow them out. He'll be playing. Now, the question I don't know, and this is the problem, is Washington going to play? I know they're resting, they're injured, and they're going to play Cousins, and they're going to play their other guys, but are they going to play him the whole game, or are they going to play him a half? Maybe they get up 17-0, and then they rest them. I don't know. This should be an under game, because Dallas is an under team. Not a great quarterback, although I do like Kellen Moore. I don't think Brian's playing. And then you have a good, very good defense with Dallas, and they're going to try because it's at the Jerry Dome. Washington, if they take Cousins out, who's going to, is RG3 coming in? I don't even know if he's on the team or third string. So you're going to have a backup quarterback in. He's not going to score a lot. So it makes it very tough unless we know for sure Washington, Cousins is playing the whole game and the tight end and everybody's playing and they want to keep the momentum. So I'm leaving this open. If you're watching Sunday, Jimmy Johnson and the boys, and they say, hey, now Washington's going to play. They want to win this game. They want to go into the playoffs. If you hear that, you bet Washington. You bet them hard +10. If you don't hear that, well, they're probably going to rest their players or there's too much uncertainty. Just leave the game alone. But if this was a Week 12 game or a Week 13 game, I'd be all over Washington, probably be a lock. So that's where I'm at with this. So be very careful with this. Chicago, even against Detroit. There's a real conflict in trends here. Chicago is 13-2 against the Lions in a teaser, the last 15. Chicago as the favorite is 10-1. Well, now it's an even game. Chicago and the favorite are 6-1 in Chicago. But here's the problem. play against Chicago as a home favorite, 27-4. Play against Chicago overall is the same like playing Dallas overall. So what you have is they're terrible as a home favorite, 27-4. Play against. That's got to be since 2011. So what you have is a team that when they're at home, bet against them. Lions, fairly good. Could be the coach's last game because they got a new president, new GM. Unfortunately, Ford still owns the team. The spread's even. Over under 46. So one way you can play it would be over 40. I think that's going to be good. See, it's weird. Washington might rest Cousins, but Detroit and Chicago aren't resting their guys. So Stafford and whatchamacallit, the Chicago quarterback, are both going to be playing the whole game. So in that situation, I do like the over of 40. I think both teams get in the 20s without a problem. If you get a dog, I think I'd play the dog. I think if Chicago goes back and you can, let's say they got a 1.5 or 2, I would tease the Lions an 8. You could go over the 40. Like I said, it's a really conflicting trend where Chicago is 13-2 against the Lions, either in Detroit or in Chicago. They match up well, and that's the whole point of this trend analysis, is to get the matchup, and I got the matchup. Take Chicago in the matchup, but when they're home favorite, so this game will be a 3-point game. Chicago wins a 23-20 is my guess, because the way it's set up, Chicago will win in the teaser, and if you took Detroit playing against Chicago, you win in the teaser. So Chicago is definitely the play here with everything, with the inner trend versus Detroit. But whoever you can get over 7, take it. Giants laying 3 to Philly. Philly fires Kelly now instead of waiting this week. This trend's all Philadelphia. The dog 10-1. Philly's 9-2. Philly's 11-1 is the dog. The dog in the series is 19-4. Why? Why did Kelly have to get fired this week? I'm sure the offensive coordinator, whoever's calling the plays, it'll be very similar. Beckham's back for the Giants. Probably Coughlin's last game. All this emotional BS. But this is all Philly here. This is a total Philly trend. Philly is a road dog. Is nothing. Philly really has no trends. They're kind of 60% all over, and the Giants the same thing. You think the Giants would be this great home favorite, and they're not. You can't, just because the Giants are home favorite, you almost bet against them. It's really strange. But the Giants and Philly have really no trends. Like Dallas, you play against them at home, it's 90%. Philly and the Giants, just like you can't find a trend. They're not good road dogs. They're not good home favorites. Actually, the Giants are bet against home dogs. So this game's all Philadelphia. If you want to play it. Green Bay laying 3 to Minnie. Green Bay 12-0 overall in the series. In Green Bay is 16. Green Bay 16-2 is the favorite, and Green Bay and the favorite in Green Bay is 11-0. No, 9-2. I think it's not an 11. So basically, what you have is Green Bay, and they won the first game in Minnie, owns Minnesota. 12-0 overall. The last 12 games, you bet Green Bay, you win. Green Bay lays 3, over under of 46. Temperature is going to be 0. You got Green Bay looking like crap at Arizona. They're going to bounce back there. They realize, fine, we win this game, we win the division. They don't get the bye. I think they get Seattle, and God help them there. But as bad as they look, they are at home. They do play better at home. They do play very well against Minnesota for some reason. It's funny, I'm at Caesars, and using my trends, Arizona, Green Bay, Arizona was the trend, and the over. And some kid comes up to me. No, I'm standing in line. Now this is where the Teaserking, this is why you pay me the big money. I'm in line. I'm watching the Washington game against Philly Saturday night. and there's about 4 or 5 minutes left, and Washington scores again. And it puts Washington up like 21 points or 17. It was a big number. It's like, okay, there's 4 minutes left. They just scored. They won. And immediately I run in line to make a bet on Minnesota. And there's a couple guys in front of me, and I go, you got to bet Minnesota now for tomorrow. It's a lot. Bet Minnesota. Oh, do they need the game? I go, well, it doesn't matter. The Giants have just been eliminated because when Washington now won, made the Giants eliminated, and without Beckham. This is the whole Teaserking gamut here, right? Boom. Washington winning eliminates the Giants without Beckham at Minnesota. Minnesota needs the game because I'm thinking Green Bay is going to lose at Arizona because Arizona is freaking 20-3 as a home favorite at home. And I know Green Bay is not a good road dog, so I know Arizona is going to win that game. So I'm giving them Minnesota. And who do I play it with? Should I play it with Green Bay at Arizona? And I look at the kid and I go, no. He says, I can have Green Bay in 10. I said, no. I said, Arizona rolls at home. And we've seen them put up 40 points quite a bit. And with that defense, Patrick Peterson in that secondary against Rodgers, you can't take Green Bay in 10. The play was Arizona or the over. So I told him to play one of those two. I don't know what he ended up playing, but he wanted to play Green Bay. So again, not only do I put him on Minnesota, which he wasn't playing or even thinking about, and that's where my mind comes in going, what are all the scenarios? Hey, Giants are eliminated without Beckham. They're going to get killed. Minnesota needs the game. Boom. And keeping him away from Green Bay. So this is what I try to do in my analysis. I might not like the game, but I'm going to keep you away from disaster, like i.e. the Pitt-Cleveland game. I'm saying don't jump on Pitt. Better games to jump on. Don't jump on Kansas City. And Kansas City might win by 10, but don't jump on. I'm saying I'm putting out a red flag, beware. And that's what I did with this kid last week. I told him, don't bet Green Bay in 10, 10.5. It's not a good bet. I had a Minnesota-Arizona teaser fairly well. I had Arizona over with New England over, that one. Besides Carolina, I had a pretty successful Sunday. I had a light Pittsburgh because I didn't. It was a warning. The dog was the play there, and I had some light Kansas City, which couldn't handle Cleveland, right? So this is what you're dealing with Kansas City. Must-win game. They can't handle Cleveland. So, but most of my other games were solid, and I stayed away from Green Bay. So anyway, take Green Bay, lay the 3, over or under 46. I think it could get a little out of hand, but I don't think. I think it's under 52 because of the weather. I think Minnie's going to run Peterson, but Green Bay plays Peterson very, very tough. But Green Bay doesn't have that offense in 0-degree weather. I don't see him putting up 40 points here. I mean, unless they get a bunch of pick sixes off of Teddy Bridgewater. I think Minnie in 9 is probably an okay bet, but the bet is Green Bay plus the 3. And I hear people, well, you can't take -3 to +3. Bullshit. Yes, you can. You got Green Bay in 3. Really doesn't matter. You're just saying Green Bay is going to win, and I get 3 points. And that's what I'm saying here is Green Bay 12-0 against Minnie in a teaser. So I don't see where Green Bay doesn't cover this line and doesn't win. They own Minnesota, and that's what we're looking for. So under 46 up to 52 is good. Just because of the cold weather, Minnie's going to probably run it. Bridgewater will turn it over. But I like Green Bay. I think at home they get the W. Denver laying 9 to San Diego. San Diego is the play in this game. San Diego is 11-0, and the dog 11-0. The last 11 in Denver. The dog is. I think San Diego is 10-1 is the dog also. So San Diego wasn't always the dog in this. So when in Denver, the last 11, San Diego and the dog are 11-0, and San Diego as the dog is 10-1. So this is a San Diego trend all the way. Over under 41. I like the under 47 because I don't like Osweiler. He's okay. Denver's got a great defense. I don't know what's going on with San Diego with all their injuries, their offensive line, their receivers, Waddle being gone. It's a tough game to take San Diego, but it's a red flag against Denver. Denver does not do well against San Diego at home. There was no big trend on them going, even 9-1 or 8-2 or anything like that. So it's not like there's a big trend. Denver has a good defense. I think Denver gets the win here, but it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy with Osweiler. Rivers knows how to put up some points on Denver, although I think Denver beat them like 19-3 or something. But there was injuries to San Diego. So they're probably more healthy. This could be their last game in San Diego if they're moving to LA. Again, I don't love it because San Diego has nothing to play for except they do have Phillip Rivers on the team. They do have Antonio Gates. I don't know who's running the ball. I don't know how healthy their line is, their defense. It's a game that I'm not going to take San Diego in, but San Diego is the trend here. If this was both teams needed it, I'd be all over San Diego in 15. I don't love Denver laying 3 or 3.5. Over under 41, I would say is probably the best to go under 47 because I think Denver, probably probably another 20-10 game. I think San Diego in the 15 probably covers. I don't see Denver blowing them out with Osweiler. With Peyton Manning, yes, but not with Osweiler. So I think, you're probably safe with San Diego, but I don't love that. But I think under 47 is probably a really good play there. I mean, Denver-Cincy was 20-7, was a 37, and they put pressure all over McCarron. So I just don't see San Diego scoring a lot. I don't see Denver scoring a lot, so I think it's under. St. Louis laying 3.5 or 3 to the Niners. Very small trend here. Frisco's 8-2. Frisco's as a dog 7-1. St. Louis and the favorite are 4-1 in San Francisco. Their running back, who I always mind blank on, Todd Gurley, finally remembered. I think he's out or very, very doubtful. Without him, this game's under all over. Over under a 37. You go under 43. I honestly don't see a team getting to 17. Without Gurley, I don't see where St. Louis is going to score a lot. And Frisco with Gabbard, I mean, he's just terrible. So I don't see a whole lot of scoring here. So I think under 43 is the best way to play this game. And my last game is the Arizona-Seattle game going on the same time as the Carolina game. Arizona laying 6. Over under a 47. Who the hell is playing on Seattle? I don't know. Cam Chancellor, is he going to play? They don't need it. I think maybe if Minnesota loses, I think if Minnesota wins and they lose, maybe they're the 6th seed instead of the 5th seed, but I don't think it really matters. Seattle's in the playoffs. I think they want to rest their guys. Is Russell Wilson playing the whole game? I don't know. Who's their running back? Their defense has been shaky. Arizona must win the game, and there's a totally different atmosphere. See, here's where I really make my money. If you look at the difference, Arizona laying 6, down to even, at home. Let's not forget, Arizona 20-3 is the home favorite. 15-1 the last few years. 11-1 a few years before that. So Arizona, dynamite at home. As long as Carson Palmer's playing, and he is. Seattle is a road dog. I got 18-3. 7-1 the last 8. 18-3 overall. So Seattle's a very dangerous road dog when they want to play. The question is, are they going to want to play? Arizona beat them by 37-31 at Seattle when it was a must-win. Arizona will be watching the clock against Carolina, watching the scoreboard. It's on at the same time. So at least that first half, Arizona's going to pile it on and get what they can. Mentally, psychologically, Seattle is in. They can't beat Arizona. They can't win the division. They can't get a bye. So mentally, their backs aren't against the wall as much as Arizona is playing for the 1 seed. And they're going to come out with much greater effort. I think Arizona is a better team at this point. I love Seattle, but they're just not, they don't have Lynch. They don't have Rawls. And, so it's Russell Wilson. But look what happened last week. At St. Louis. They got their butt kicked by St. Louis. Psychologically, they don't need it. You'll see a different Seattle team next week in the playoffs than you're going to see this week. But at Arizona, and Arizona needs it for the 1 seed. Look out. I like Arizona there. Over under 47. I'd go over 41 because Arizona scores. Seattle should score. You're going to get some pick sixes and all that kind of stuff. Patrick Peterson run a bunt back. Something like that. But I definitely look at Arizona to win this game. There's really no trend Arizona-Seattle. It's just Arizona's a great home favorite. And that's, basically it. So that's the whole run. Now in there is 2 locks. Could be more. Could be 3 or 4. I'm not sure yet. I've been watching so much college football. I do want to make a note. Yes, I did lose with Michigan State as my big lock. I apologize to anybody I gave the game to. I would make the same prediction every time based on the trend analysis, based on the fact of the matchup. Connor Cook played terrible. The receivers dropped the balls. Connor Cook's a first-round draft pick. Didn't quite look like one. Michigan State was about as out-coached as you could get. How they weren't prepared for Alabama putting pressure on the quarterback, no screens, no crossing routes, no long passes. Cook needs to find where to go and get rid of it. He needs to beat Tom Brady against Alabama, right? He needs 1-2, get rid of the ball, and he held it way too long. If the guy's coming off the edge, you need to double team him. You either put another tackle in the game or have the tight end also block the guy. None of that. None of the running backs really picked up the blitz. They didn't really give Cook the time to pass. Cook's not mobile enough. They should have run the ball 2 tight ends. Part of the reason I took Michigan State was they beat Ohio State 17-14 with a backup running it down their throat. You can run it on Joey Bosa. You can run it on Alabama. That was part of the reason. The other part was they couldn't run on Michigan State. But Michigan State, they threw all these interceptions in the second half. I mean, Cook throws the interception right before half. If they just do that, it's 10-7. They didn't look like they did against Michigan, who's just as strong a defense as Alabama. I don't care what anybody says. They killed Florida today. I'm sorry, I just don't agree. Alabama's not that good. Michigan State's not that bad. Okay, yeah, it went 41-0 or whatever the score was. Absolutely, I've never seen State this bad in 5 years. I mean, they were deer in the headlights. Now, they have played in the Rose Bowl and beat Stanford, who had a great defense. So I'm really wondering where their running attack was, where their coaching was, where the coach's head was. They were throwing a lot of these little passes, Alabama to the outside. So it's kind of like they found the weakness in the secondary and they took advantage of it. And State really never adjusted. They never came up and took away. There was no pick sixes. They should have had 3 or 4 pick sixes on these little short passes. You should have baited them and then just cut in front of it and had a safety over the top and off you go. They should have picked 3 or 4 of these. You want to throw sideways? Goodbye. I'm taking a pick 6 to the house. So, I mean, you had that. No, it's just one of those things. I thought the matchup with Cook throwing the ball is Alabama's weakness. Again, Cook played absolutely terrible. State did not have any imagination to put 2 tight ends at all in the game and looked like a high school team. So I apologize for losing it, but I had to play it. If they're playing next week, I'd play Michigan State again. Um, in the championship, which is a joke, Alabama Lane 7. I'm going to do a bowl. I'm going to do a bowl thing right now, so I'm going to get into that in a minute. All right, so that's the pros. That's week 17. Remember, just because the team needs it doesn't mean they're going to win it. AE the Jets, AE Pittsburgh, AE Kansas City, AE all of these teams. You got to be careful there and go. And again, if Washington is playing their players the whole game, you hear Jimmy Johnson say, hey, they're going to play. They want to keep the momentum. Bet Washington plus 10. That's a lock. Take that to the bank. But again, until we know that, you can't play it again with Seattle. The spread's 6, so they're going to play Russell Wilson, but are they going to play him the whole game? Are they going to risk injury? I don't think they need to. I don't think they care if they beat Minnesota and they're the 5 seed or the 6 seed. So I don't see Seattle giving the effort because they really. How hard do you play to be the 5th seed versus the 6th seed versus being the 1 seed or getting the bye? So that's my point. When the team's back's against the wall is when you bet them, not when they are in the playoffs and are fighting for the 5th or 6th seed. All right, everybody, www.teaserking.com. Yes, I did spread out my prediction of Michigan State 27, Alabama 17 on purpose. I wanted to have the balls to predict that. I did bet State to win it all at 8-1. I did bet the money line on the game. I was very confident in Michigan State. Like I said, it's the worst game they played in 5 years, and I got to go by how they played. And again, when they've been healthy this year, they did beat Oregon, they did beat Ohio State, they did beat Michigan. Even if they didn't get the punt, they would have lost by 2. They took care of Iowa. So, as far as that goes, there's nothing wrong with Michigan State. All right, everybody, good luck on Sunday. I have 2 locks going, and like I said, it could be 4 in this, and we'll go from there. All right, Happy New Year to everybody, and have a great 2016. All right, good luck, everybody.